When you first turn on and set up your Samsung Galaxy S9, it will have the always on display activated, whereby when the screen is locked, it will still display the time and notifications. To activate your Galaxy S9 to bring up the lock screen, you can either use the power button, so we now see the lock screen, or we can bring it up by holding and pressing on the home button at the bottom here. And if you haven't set up any specific security settings yet, it will just be a swipe up to unlock. Security is probably your first port of call when you first set up your Samsung Galaxy S9. To get there, you want to swipe up on the home screen anywhere, and that will bring up the app drawer, then go to settings, and from here you want to scroll down or up until you find lock screen and security. And then you have these options here for phone security. Now at the moment I've got a basic setup here of a swipe lock, and I can change that to pattern, pin, password, but you also have these biometric options here whereby you can unlock the device with your face, your iris, eye scanner, fingerprints, but all of these do require setup, so when I try and enable them, it's going to ask me to set all that up. So play about with these settings, see which one is your preference, and then at least you have some proper lock screen security set up when you're ready to do so. Let's have a look at some basic customization of the home screen now. To do this, pinch in with 2 fingers like so, and you'll get some options at the bottom. In this case, we're going to do a very simple change by going to wallpapers, and you'll have some defaults up here, so I can tap on one of these and then set it as the new wallpaper if you want to. So if I now go back to my home screen, as you can see, it looks a little different, but there's all sorts of options here where you can download new themes if you want to, but the thing I'm going to check next is home screen settings, where here you can change the screen layout. So if I go to home screen grid, I could actually increase the number of icons on screen or reduce it depending on my preferences, and there are plenty more options there if you want to. So again, play about with each of these. Things I want to look at in particular is app icon badges. If you turn this on or off, what that does is changes the icon here for Play Store. So I've got 2 notifications there, and in emails I might have 11 notifications. Also, other things worth checking out in this section include the add apps to home screen. So when you download applications from the App Store, this decides whether or not it automatically puts an app on your home screen or just into your app drawer. And then the quick open notification panel, let me show you how that quickly works. If I just swipe down now on any part of the screen, that brings up the app drawer. However, if I want to change that, I can go to quick open notification panel, toggle that on, and then when I swipe down, it brings down my notifications. A couple of things there to check out on customizing your home screens. So as I said briefly before, if you swipe up on any part of your home screen, that does bring up the app drawer where all of your installed applications are. My big advice is to get the settings icon onto your home screen because you'll be going there a lot, and to do that you press and hold, and then if you start to swipe it to the top, it goes back to your home screen, and then you can just drop it there. If you wanted to bring multiple applications from the app drawer to your home screen all at once, again go to your app drawer and then long press on an icon and then just let go, and then you can select items. So what you can do now is select multiple items like that, and then you can drag them up to the top and drop them down, and it'll drop all of those icons all at once. Now I've made a bit of a mess of my home screen here, so the reverse is true. I could long press on one to pick it up, select items, select all of them, and then delete them from my home screen. That doesn't uninstall, it just removes them from the home screen. What I could do instead is long press on an app, then select items, select loads of them again. This time I can create a folder, and now that's there, done, good. I can add more applications if I want to, but what I could also do with this folder is I can long press that, pick it up, drag it to the home screen, and now I've got a folder of apps instead of them all appearing on my home screen. Another thing you may have noticed when I long press on one of the apps is that I get context options. For example, if I long press on the camera, I get these options for taking a selfie or an auto shot. If I do it with the internet, I get lots more options. So with each application, long press on it and just see what quick shortcuts you may have. Now, since this is a new device and you're going to fill it up with all your own applications, you may want to get rid of the ones that you're never going to use. In order to do that on any application, you can long press and there will usually be an uninstall option. Some applications you can't uninstall though, or disable. For example, settings. You wouldn't want to disable or uninstall that obviously, but for some applications you can disable them. That means it's removed from use, but it's not removed from your device. For example, with Google, I can disable it, so if I tap disable and confirm, this disappears from my app drawer, and you may be thinking now, well, I need to get it back at some point. How would I do that? Go to settings, apps, and then in the app list, go and find your application. In this case, we are looking for Google, which as you can see is disabled. Tap that, enable it, and then it should reappear once again in the application drawer. Notifications and settings can always be accessed by swiping down from the very top of a screen. If I swipe down once, it brings up notifications and quick settings. If I swipe down again on the screen, it brings up most of my settings. If you want to bring up settings immediately, you can do this with 2-finger swipe down from the top like that, and then you can swipe left to right on your settings to bring up even more settings, like so. Now let's say I swipe down with 1 finger and I have these quick settings up here, but I would like to change them to some different quick settings. In order to do that, swipe down so you get all of your settings, tap on the 3 buttons, and then you have a button order, and now I can pick up any of these icons and then move them to the first 6. And once I've done that, I'll just move some around a little bit. Tap done. You should now see that when I bring down my quick settings, it's changed a little bit, so now I have a flashlight and other settings that I mess around with. Now amazingly, in some cases these settings have 3 individual options. For example, if I go to the flashlight, I can tap it to turn it on, but if I tap the word flashlight, that actually gives me the option to adjust the brightness level like so. Furthermore, I can also long press on the icon itself in some cases, and that will take me into the main screen. For example, on the Wi-Fi here, if I tap on the words, that brings up a quick settings option. But if then I long press on the icon itself, that takes me deep into the Wi-Fi settings within settings, and I'd have to back out quite a way to get to where I originally was. So lots to explore there with the settings just from the swipe down. Now let's take a brief look at some of these settings here in the swipe down. Blue light filter, for example, that turns your screen quite orange because it tries to remove blue light from the spectrum on the screen to help you fall asleep at night. But as I say, if you tap on the words, you can go into more options to change the opacity in this case, or if you want to go further still, you could long press to go into more details and then turn it on and schedule it if you want to turn it on, say at 10 o'clock at night or when the sun rises. Plenty of options there. Same for do not disturb as well. Let's just see if I can fix that a little bit there, get my screen looking right. Do not disturb, that very simply would do an option if I tapped it, but I could tap on the words and then it gives me more options to mute calls and all sorts of extra options when you long press. And yeah, the possibilities are almost endless, so just make sure that you investigate each option as thoroughly as you need to. Another setting you may want to adjust, you've got to swipe down twice to get the brightness, unless you tap the chevron next to brightness, then show control on top, and once you've done that, the next time you bring up the notifications, you should see that it's just sitting there under the quick settings. Let's have a look at some personal preferences you might want with your device. We'll start with the screen first. To get there, go to settings and then display. Have a look at font and screen size. This will adjust the size of the icons when you're in the settings, and the font size if you want to make a change to them, and also the font style if you want to change that as well. Another thing you might want to look at is a resolution. It's set to the midpoint here, but if you want improved battery performance, you might want to go down to HD+, but if you want top performance, you'll want to go up to the WQHD Plus resolution, which as you can see is absolutely enormous. Moving further down the display settings, also a preference often is screen timeout. The default is 30 seconds, but for my testing I put it up to 2 minutes. Obviously change that to what you want. That will affect the battery if you leave screen timeout on for longer. And another thing that you'll want to have a big play about with is the navigation bar. You can change the colour of the navigation bar down here. What you can also do is set whether it appears automatically or not. So this button here, if I double tap it, now the navigation bar disappears and I have to swipe up from the bottom of the screen to make it reappear again. And so if I tap on screen You can see it's disappeared. Now it's there again, but once I start using the main screen, the navigation bar disappears. In order to toggle this on again, I would swipe up to bring the navigation bar and double tap the button there in the left hand side. So again, more things to play about with here in the navigation bar, and you can also switch the recents and back button around if you prefer the opposite style there. Sound and vibration can be found in settings and sound and vibrations. The things I want to point out here are the touch sounds, so you can toggle that on when you're going on the back button, the home button, and selecting things. It'll make noises there. Vibration feedback, again, for when you're touching certain buttons, you'll get some tactile feedback from the device when you press on things, and also for keyboard typing sounds. That's also here if you decide to continue using the Samsung keyboard. But there's all sorts of other features and settings that you want to check in both the display and sounds and vibration. Now let's return to the always on display. Do you want it always on? Do you want to display the clock in this type? And do you want these notifications? All of this can be changed by going to settings, followed by lock screen and security, and scrolling about halfway down until you get to this area here. You can just turn it on or off completely and schedule it. You also have options here to change the clock and the widgets. You can also turn off the notifications or on. There's applications there. If we go into the always on display, you can change the brightness as well depending on the time of day. So there's all sorts of options here to play about with whether or not you want always on display. Me personally, I turn it off. If you're new to Galaxy S devices, you might not be aware of this little notch here on the right hand side, which is your Edge display. If you swipe it, it brings up these extra options. These are Smart Select options where you can do animations, pin stuff, and take screenshots. And if you swipe, you can go to app shortcuts, and there's all sorts of different options here, including contacts as well. You can change the settings here by going to the settings cog down here, and there you can add more edges if you want to, or you can turn off the option completely if you need to, like that. Once you've turned it off and you go away from the screen, how do you get it back? You would go to settings, then find display at the top, and then look for the Edge screen option, tap there, and then you can toggle it back on. And finally, in the Edge panel settings, if you tap the three dots at the top and then go to the Edge panel handle, you can change the size of it, so make it a bigger contact point, or you can switch it to the left hand side of the screen. Again, plenty of options here for you to play with to set it up to your preferences. To launch the camera, simply double tap on the power button. That will take you to the camera, but if you wanted to turn that option off, go to settings within the camera and scroll down to the very bottom where you should see the quick launch option. Simply toggle that off. Now we'll go into a lot more detail about the camera in a future video, but for now you just need to know that you can swipe left or right on the screen to take you through the different camera modes, as you can see at the top there. So there's plenty here, including the super slow-mo one, which I'm very much looking forward to testing. The standard way to take a screenshot on the device is to hold the power and volume down button. When you do that, you'll get some smart options at the bottom here to crop it, draw on it, but they do very quickly disappear. Okay, let's get Bixby, Samsung's digital assistant, out of the way. To access it, swipe to the right from the main home screen. However, if you don't want to use Bixby at all, you can pinch inwards on the home screen to bring up the modification options, and then just bring Bixby up, which is on the left panel, toggle it off. So now, when I swipe left, Bixby doesn't come up. However, Samsung is very keen for you to use this, so it has its own dedicated Bixby button here just below the volume rocker. If I tap it, that launches Bixby as well, but you can still disable it if you tap on the settings button here and then toggle it off there, so that now I can neither swipe nor press the button to bring up Bixby. However, you can still get up the voice assistant by pressing and holding the Bixby button. Go away. Yeah, never works, does it? And finally, the last thing to check out when you first purchase your Samsung Galaxy S9 is to look at device maintenance. go to settings, and then it's about halfway down the settings right there. And the one thing I would want you to look at here is the battery options, which quickly offer you power saving mode. So if you wanted to go to the mid power saving mode, it gives you all sorts of options about what it actually does and how much battery it would save. So definitely something worth checking out if you are one of those people who likes to conserve as much battery as possible. If no nonsense at Samsung Galaxy S9 tips and tricks is what you want, then check out the playlist on screen now and stay tuned to the Video Gadgets channel for a lot more to come. Enjoy the rest of your tech day. Bye for now.